They thought she was just translating another man's work, but what she was really doing was inventing the future. Welcome back to History Pulse. Today, we're diving into a story of genius, vision, and a future written over a century before its time. London, 1843. In an era defined by steam, steel, and strict social codes, a young woman named Ada Lovelace was quietly starting a revolution. You might know her as the daughter of the famous and infamous poet Lord Byron. But Ada's rebellion wasn't in poetry. It was in numbers. At a time when women were actively discouraged from pursuing serious science and mathematics, Ada found herself captivated by a radical project, a machine that existed only on paper. It was called the analytical engine, the brainchild of the brilliant inventor Charles Babbage. To most, this contraption of gears and levers was, at best, a glorified calculator, a mechanical curiosity. But Ada, with her unique blend of analytical rigor and poetic imagination, saw something far more profound. Her big moment came when she was asked to translate an article about the analytical engine, written by an Italian engineer. A simple task. Right, just change the words from Italian to English. But Ada didn't just translate it. She expanded on it, adding her own extensive notes. These notes weren't just footnotes. They were an entire treatise, 3 times longer than the original article itself, and hidden within them was the seed of the modern world. What was it? An algorithm, a step-by-step set of instructions designed to guide a machine. Specifically, she wrote a detailed method for the analytical engine to calculate a complex sequence of rational numbers, known as Bernoulli numbers. This wasn't just theory. It was a concrete, executable plan. It was, in essence, the world's very first computer program. Think about that for a moment. This was the 1840s. The world was lit by gas lamps. Communication traveled at the speed of a horse or a steam train. Yet here was a woman, writing code for a computer that hadn't even been built. But Ada's vision went even further, into territory no one else dared to explore. She looked at Babbage's engine, a machine of numbers, and saw a future of symbols. In her notes, she speculated that the engine could go beyond mere calculation. She wrote that a machine like this could one day compose elaborate pieces of music, create works of art, and manipulate not just numbers, but any form of information, letters, notes, symbols. She called this a new science of operations. Today, we just call it computing. She was describing software, artificial intelligence, and the digital arts. A full century before the first electronic computers would flicker to life. She foresaw a partnership between humanity and machine, where technology could become a creative collaborator. She was the first person to see the universal potential of a computing machine, to understand that it wasn't just about crunching numbers, but about transforming the very fabric of human knowledge and creativity. So how did the world react to this incredible leap of imagination? Mostly with dismissal. The men of her time, even those who admired her intelligence, struggled to comprehend her ideas. They dismissed her visionary concepts as mere fantasy. Her intellectual contributions were often downplayed, attributed to Babbage, or seen as the whimsical imagination of a poet's daughter, rather than the rigorous engineering insight it truly was. Her gender was a barrier they simply couldn't see past. Tragically, Ada Lovelace died at the young age of 36, her body succumbing to illness, and with her passing, her revolutionary work faded into obscurity. For nearly 100 years, her name and her notes were little more than a historical footnote, forgotten by the very world she had tried to show the future to. The Victorian era moved on, obsessed with its steam engines and factories, completely unaware that the blueprint for the next age had already been written. Then came the 20th century. The gears of history turned, and the age of electronic computing dawned. As pioneers like Alan Turing began to lay the theoretical and practical foundations for modern computers, they started looking back. They scoured the archives of science, searching for predecessors, for anyone who might have walked this path before. And that's when they found her. They found Ada. They rediscovered her notes on the analytical engine, and this time, the world was ready to listen. Scientists were stunned. Here, in the elegant prose of a Victorian woman, were the core concepts of modern programming. They recognized the truth that had been overlooked for a century. Ada Lovelace was unjust a translator or an assistant. She was the originator, the prophet of the computer age, the world's first programmer. When we look at the old black and white portraits of Ada, we see a graceful woman in Victorian dress. But those still images, Queen, possibly capture the sheer intellectual courage it took to envision a thinking machine in a world run by steam. Bekoinis show us the spark of genius in that moment. She first put pen to paper and wrote down a language for a machine that did and exist. Every time you use an app, every time an algorithm recommends a song, every time software helps create a piece of digital art, you are witnessing the legacy of her dream. All of today's programming languages are complex software, and the digital world we inhabit are descendants of the vision of one extraordinary woman who saw no limits, where everyone else saw only a machine. Ada Lovelace didn't just see the future. She wrote the first line of its code. Thanks for watching History Pulse. If you found this story as inspiring as we did, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next journey into the past. See you next time.